Welcome to the World of Pets podcast. So happy to have you here this evening. Last week we talked about saying goodbye to our pets. And so this week we're having a little bit lighter time and we're going to tell fun stories about the pets. Unfortunately, I do have one sad thing to report, and that is that David, my co-host, his Payton poo got hit by a forklift yesterday at his work. He's taken Payton to work with him for years. And I think he's going to have surgery. I'm not sure the extent of it yet. David's been working on that nonstop for the last 24 hours or so. So I really haven't had a chance to talk to him yet. So please, your prayers for Payton. And we are going to get started now, as I know both of them would want us to, and have a few laughs. I thought I could count on David to tell a good long story. So since he isn't here and since I didn't have a chance to ask him, or I didn't want to intrude on him to ask him about his story, we'll have to save it for another time. And hopefully this won't be terribly short, but we do have some good stories from people. So the first one, okay, so let me back up a minute. Sorry. So we do want our pets to feel safe with us. We want them to feel our unconditional love because they obviously have unconditional love for us. We also want them to live a long life, and we want them for that life to be healthy. And we feel that we found something that can facilitate that long life being healthy. So there are about 400 studies that collaborate that, and a lot of testimonials. And we do this through the use of the Coriolus versicolor mushroom, which is the most potent of the mushrooms, medicinal mushrooms. So to get started, our quote or our question for the day is, what is your funniest pet story? And I'm going to answer for myself first. I'm sure there are others that I could think of, but we pet sit quite a bit for my daughter and son-in-law's dog, our my grand dog. And luckily, my dog, for example, likes to walk on the leash. Her dog likes to go in the backyard and play fetch. So we don't have any conflict here. It used to be when Chica first came over that they wouldn't even stand beside each other at the back door to go out. If one of them had to go, if they both had to go out, one of them would go elsewhere until the first one went out and then go out. They could both be out in the backyard with each other. That was okay as long as they didn't have to interact. Now they're better. Now they'll both stand and wait side by side. They still don't interact, but this day they sort of interacted in a negative way. So again, my dog likes his pet bed. My daughter's dog likes to be on the couch. So she has her own spot here at the end of the couch where we have a blanket for her. So my dog goes over one day when Chica is not there. She's right there, but she isn't on the couch. And he looks at the couch and he looks at her, make sure she's watching, and he jumps right up into her space. And too bad for Chica. They're not aggressive toward each other, so there wasn't a problem, of course, in that respect. But you could tell that she wasn't pleased, and I think he was very pleased with himself. So he stayed up there for a while, then he got down, and she, of course, got up right away because she didn't want to lose out on her spot again. So my friend Tracy told me something about her cat. I think you'll laugh in two different ways, one at the cat and one at me. And what she told me was that there's some little sort of ticky noise that they make, like and when the cat hears that, he knows that they have seen an insect. And so he's like looking all around and pacing all around so that he can find that insect to have for his dessert or whatever. So when she's describing it, she says to me, well, sort of like the dinosaurs in Jurassic Park did before they like ate somebody. And I'm like thinking to myself, I'm not a movie person. I've never seen Jurassic Park. I don't know what she's talking about. But anyway, you probably all of you guys have, so you get the idea. And again, it's this little sound. And the cat knows exactly what it is. In fact, when she was describing it for me, when she was demonstrating it for me, she said the cat was right there, and the cat was starting to look around for insects because he heard that particular noise. She also said, which I thought was very interesting, that you can research it, and it is a common thing. It's not just common to this particular cat. The cats do go after insects when they hear this certain noise. The other thing, and this is not, again, this isn't germane to her cat that she has right now, because I remember the previous cat. She teaches him how to go to the bathroom and the toilet, which is fine. I think it's great. What I was giving her a hard time about one day was that on Facebook, she posted the cat going to the bathroom. And I'm like, aren't you being intrusive to your cat? The cat didn't know the difference, of course. But anyway, so those were Tracy's stories. My friend Gabby was saying that her dog has actually made a path for himself, like a track. And he will go out and run around the yard and jump at the same place and run in the same place repeatedly, just around and around. And I did think that was a little bit unusual and a fun fact. Back to the toilet thing. My husband's granddaughter, one of his granddaughters, actually taught her dog to go to the bathroom in the toilet. I'm not sure how. I know I was talking to my friend Kurt Weeks today, and he was telling me that he had heard that when the cats learn to go in the bathroom, that the owner will put something to hold the cat litter. Some piece of I don't know, something solid that you can put between the toilet bowl and the toilet seat. That's sturdy enough to hold a little bit of cat litter, and they just keep, every time the cat goes in the cat litter, then the next time they'll take a little bit of the cat litter out. And finally, they'll remove the cat litter and remove the protective covering that was holding the cat litter, and then the cat ends up going in the toilet and just continues to go in the toilet. So just in case you want to try that, there's your lesson. So Tammy is a friend of mine who has a pet sitting business, and they've been quite busy since Christmas time. So around Christmas, she was having to do some of the services herself that she wouldn't normally do. So she goes to these people's house, and the people had 4 reptiles a cat, a tarantula, and I think a couple others. So the owner says to her, "How do you feel about the tarantula?" Tammy says, "That would be a hard no. No way. I'm not going to have anything to do with the tarantula." And the woman said, "That's all right. That's not a problem. We have, we have a way to feed the tarantula and make sure that it has what it needs while we're gone." So Tammy goes over. It's December. It's around Christmas time, so it's dark pretty late in the morning. She figures it's around 6:45, so just starting to get a little bit light here in southern Arizona. And she's finishes with the reptiles, whatever. She didn't go into the technicalities, which I was plenty happy about that, for the reptiles. And she looked at the carpet, and the carpet moved. Well, it was only a second before she realized it couldn't be the carpet moving. And the carpet was brown, and so was the tarantula. And she's like, "Oh my gosh." And her brain told her, "Get out of there." And she ran out and closed the door. And then she called the owner, said, "What do I do? And don't forget, taking care of the tarantula was a hard no." The owner says, "Well, the first thing you better do is get a towel and put it under that little hole under the door. Otherwise, she would think that the tarantula was coming after her again." So the owner either came back that day or got somebody over there to get the tarantula placed back where it was supposed to be. And they figured out that the cat had opened the tarantula's enclosure cover, and that's how the tarantula got out. So the cat was complicit in this as well. So the owner says to Tammy, "Well, if we put some books up there so that the cover can't come off, then will you be willing to come back?" And Tammy said yes. So it had a happy ending, but it did have quite the situation where Tammy had a racing heartbeat there for a little bit. So EJ, I thought was going to be able to join us, but I haven't seen her, so I'm going to tell her story. And it's a good one also. You know the story about the cat ate my homework. I'm sure everybody knows that. In this case, the cat ate their IRS refund check. True story. It was several years ago, she said. It might have even been a different dog than the one that they have now. But she couldn't catch it. Couldn't catch the check or the dog. But afterwards, she did pick up the check in its pieces, put it together like a puzzle and tape it, take it to the bank. And the teller said, "I'll ask the manager if we can deposit it or cash it." And the lady came back and said, "Yeah, coincidentally, all of the important pieces, the information that we need, happens to be intact." So lucky for them, they did not have to go through whatever hoops they would have had to go through in order to get their refund check, a replacement refund check, let's say. I'm sure that would have been a big hassle. And I don't know. Do you think the IRS would have thought it was funny, or would have been aggravated that the dog ate their homework, so to speak? So if anyone in the audience has a story that they would like to tell, they can put it in the chat. Yeah, I know there's a lot of stories out there. I do want to tell you about our upcoming podcasts. Um, Next week, I'm really excited about this. Um, I have a Facebook friend who was posted that he had a service dog, and the organization that he got the service dog from, and I'm like, oh, I'd like to hear about that. So he actually had the idea, which I think is a great one, to have a before and after, because he hasn't been trained yet. So next week, Anthony and the dog Cobb are going to be on, and we're going to see how Cobb acts untrained. And then April 20th, he goes in for his training. Anthony goes, he's got to go to prison for 2 months. I'm assuming that Anthony won't be able to see him for the 2 months. We haven't discussed it, but makes sense because it's going to be intense training. And then May to June. So then toward late June, then Cobb will be coming home and will be adequately trained as a service dog. And then we will have him on here and have video of him performing his duties as he is supposed to. So very exciting. So episode 1 of Cobb is next week. The following week, David should be back, and we'll be doing an undisclosed topic that we haven't talked about yet. And then the following week, we're going to have Heather from Tucson Dog Magazine come, and we want to start with a couple of episodes about what do you do when you replace your pets, because that's what most of us do, right? We replace the pets that we lost, and that's what we talked about last week, was losing the pet. So we wanted to make sure that we got Cobb in there, and that didn't get lost in the shuffle. And then all of a sudden it's April 20th and he's gone, and we don't have any record of how he's acting before he goes off to prison, as Anthony says. So we are sticking him in there, but after that, then we will have a couple of episodes about finding another dog, and I guess finding an emotional support or a service dog really is part of finding a new pet as well. So that goes along with that theme. But Heather is going to talk. She's worked some with the animal shelter here in Pima County. So she's going to talk about the procedure that would happen if you go there and you would like to get a pet. Then we will also have a private company or nonprofit, but not a government funded nonprofit, that will be coming on either with her or at a separate time, but basically so people know the difference if they haven't gone someplace like that to adopt a pet. So that's it. If you haven't taken a look at our podcasts that are that are saved on YouTube, you would of course go to at World of Pets Podcast, no spaces, and click on that. And then if you click on the 2 dogs, I can show you their pictures here. Whoops. It's in a little circle, so it's not, you have to sort of look for it. But if you click on that, then it'll open up the saved podcasts. And there's also our first 1 or 2 podcasts are down farther on that same thread, but they just didn't get streamed live directly to YouTube. So that's why they're not in this collection. So the ones on the collection are, again, I'll get the picture up here. This is Zenta. And Zenta's human dad came on and told her story about how they took her to the vet. And the vet said, she, as I say, she was a hot mess at that time. And the vet said, you've given her a great life. You don't have to be sorry about putting her down. And they took her home, and it started her on the supplemental mushrooms, and she lived for 4.5 years. 4.5 years. And wouldn't we be happy if we could just get our pet for an extra year even? So you can find out about that. And then the following week, her human dad came back, and he and I talked a little bit, and David as well, about the supplemental mushrooms for our pets. So you can get a better idea of what those are about. Emily's having technical issues tonight. Boy, we're a bunch, huh? So I wanted to talk a little bit about our quote unquote sponsors, and that would be the World of Ability Podcast Network. They do a number of podcasts and a number of topics. One of the podcasts that Sue runs as an ambassador for this organization is projectdiehard.org. Just like it sounds, Project D-I-E, diehard.org, can be found on YouTube, Facebook, etc. And it is an organization right now in Paducah, Kentucky, but they do have land, and I don't want to misspeak, but I'm pretty sure that the land is near Paducah, but it's either in Illinois or Indiana that has been gifted to them, I believe. Again, I'm just learning about the organization, but their ultimate goal is to have a live-in facility for 2 veteran families and for 8 individual veterans. And like many of these organizations, their main purpose is to give stability to the people who are having an issue coming out of the service, so that we can cut way back on the suicide number that we're getting from veterans. So that is something on Monday nights. You can view that. They do an update, and what they're doing right now, because they don't have the physical facility built on their property, but they do have breakfasts that are sponsored by different organizations. They're in Paducah, and the veterans eat free. So that is something that you might want to check out if you're looking for someone to sponsor, someone to help with. They're still looking for ambassadors. And again, Sue Roscoff and Kurt Roscoff, who are the head of the World of Ability Network, are both ambassadors for that organization. So they do on Saturdays, they do 2 shows for 2 hours in duration. So you can actually go and repeat the spiel that you say like 5 minutes later, if you happen to be last on the first show and first on the last show, and that you think that you're nuts, that you're just repeating yourself, but really there are 2 different audiences. But the World of Ability channel is just to point out to people that those that have been classified as having disabilities really do have abilities and have things to offer. So they talk about that. They talk about integrating people into, people with disabilities into positions of ability, whether their ability is severe and it's a small integration, or whether it's a bigger one. that they have more to offer, that is great. So that is on Saturdays. I'm not going to try to tell you the times because Arizona does not go on daylight savings time. And so I'm very confused. That's why we moved ourselves from 7 to 6, because during non-daylight savings time, this podcast is actually at 7. So, let's see. On Wednesday, I know I'm not going to name all of them, and they've been adding podcasts on a regular basis. They do have a podcast that they do on Wednesday evening. It's through riverwestradio.com, I think. I know the River West Radio part. And again, they'll have guests. I mean, when I go on, I talk about service animals, things like that. And then every day, and this is something that's really passionate. I'm really passionate about, because I used to teach PE and I also taught special ed as a teacher. So they do what they call shakedown, 12 o'clock shakedown. The 12 o'clock is always Central Time, so you can remember that and just adjust it for your own time zone. But it's 15 minutes of music and motion. And it just, Sue leads it. And you emulate swimming, like with your arms, like the crawl and then the backstroke. You do some things that are more you would think of in the exercise line, like arm circles. It's just a variety of different things. It started because there was a gentleman that needed to do these exercises daily and was established to encourage him. So they went online with it. And I'm always telling my friends that are saying they don't get any activity or enough activity, get on there. It's 15 minutes of moving. Most of it is upper body. It's very low impact. And you can get it on Facebook. So that's a possibility as well if you're not there live. But it's just, I just feel like it's just so important for us to get physical activity. And this is an opportunity. And then one of the gentlemen afterwards does a little report. You know how there's like, you'll know where my proclivities lie. Chocolate, this is chocolate day. I'm trying to think of what some of the ones were today. Chocolate and caramel, I remember that one, of course, but, oh, wow. Anyway, so they don't all have to do with food. That's my point. That there's just like 15 or 20 or more, but he finds out about 15 or 20 days for that particular day, and he'll talk about them. And then he gives the birthdays of musicians, some of whom are deceased and some of whom are still with us. And so it's just a fun time. So if you wanted information on that, you can come next week, or that's my LinkedIn is linkedin.com/in/ oh, there it is. Thank you, Emily. See, she reads my mind. There it is right there. So you could go to that and you could communicate with me through that. So I would like to thank all of you who are here or who are going to see this live. I mean, not live because we're live now. Sorry. And thank you for the opportunity. And Emily, thank you for the work that you do for us. I know David and I both appreciate it a lot. Again, please pray for Payton. And for David, I know he's very distraught because like almost all of us, maybe not all, but a lot of us, he loves his dog, and his dog is part of his family. So thank you for that. Over and out, folks. See you next week when we have Anthony and Cobb, with Cobb misbehaving, I guess. Thank you.